So I'm out in the garage and it is cold. It is very cold and it's a problem I've been having out here. So this garage is attached from the house. It is reasonably well insulated. The person who lives here before used this as like a hair salon style thing. So it's reasonably well insulated, but there's no heating. The boiler's out here though. The boiler is through that door. I'll show you that in a second. We have an oil-fired central heating. But we don't have a radiator out here, and I was looking at fitting a radiator in here so that it was in part of the home heating system, and then that we could use that to warm it up. It was expensive. I didn't want to do it myself just because dealing with water and plumbing, especially on the heating system, I can't. Middle of winter, I can't have that break if I fuck it up in some way, shape, or form. So I decided against doing that. At the minute, I'm using little electric blow heaters, and they are expensive to run. We have solar panels on the house, and even that they take a fair brunt out of it. So I need something better. So what I found was a diesel heater. So this is the box. I've already opened it just to confirm what it was, and I'll show you very quickly. So got a 10-litre tank. This is a diesel heater, but it can run on kerosene, which is home heating oil. It's very handy because I happen to have a lot of home heating oil because that's what our central heating runs on. So that should be good. Nice big tank. The main unit itself, so this is effectively just an engine. So I'll get this out and I'll let you have a look at it, and then in here is going to be all of the gubbins and spare parts, but we'll pull this out and we'll show you what it is. So this is the heater. It's super basic. It's apparently off an old German patent that's now out of patent, so anyone can make it, and a lot of Chinese companies have been making a ton of them. We've got our control cables here, so this is I'm assuming temperature information, things like that, but then also the controls to start and stop it. It's basically just an engine. That's all it is. We have one of these is air intake, one of these is exhaust. I think this one's the air intake, but I'll double check that. Then got our fuel line in, and then as I say, I think this one's the exhaust, but I'll confirm that before wiring everything up. And then on this side is the air out, so this is the hot air out, and then this is air in. So there's two air intakes. This one is the air intake for the air that actually gets heated up. As the engine is running, it pulls air through, it runs it basically through like a giant heat sink, very much the same way that your car or old cars used to do heating in the car, is that they ran the air through the engine block. It warmed up because the engine was very warm, and then blew it out. Same idea. So it gets pulled in here, blown out there, and then you can attach ducting and stuff to have it coming out to wherever you want. This air intake is the actual air intake into the engine, so to actually do the atomization and to get the combustion going is what that air intake's for. And then exhaust is exhaust. Point to note, I'm installing this inside. The exhausts need to go outside. Okay, this is very nasty gas. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. You will die if you breathe this in for any length of time. So this, I'll be drilling a hole in my wall, and the exhaust will be going outside. Okay, just so we're clear. So over here is where I'm thinking of installing it. So I'm going to hopefully have a hole drilled through here, and the exhaust can come out. And if we go in here, we've got an absolute mess. This is going away. We then have our actual boiler. In this bit is not insulated, so you can see this wall is double wall. There's insulation inside. It keeps the cold out, and there's also no roof, whereas in here we have a roof. So in here it gets quite cold, but that's fine. I'll help keep the engine cold. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to mount it. I'm going to move this washing machine out of the way. I'm going to mount it on this wall and then drill through this wall and have the air coming through here, and then the exhaust is going through that wall out to the outside. Okay, and this is all the gubbins that comes with it. So let's see, we have a controller. So yeah, on, off, heat up, heat down. We then have our cabling, so fairly straightforward there. This is our control unit. So what I'm hoping to do is mount the control unit on the right hand side of the door, just about there. Hopefully if the cables are long enough, but it is only 3 cables in there, so I should be able to make it longer without too much difficulty. We then got small ducting for the air intake. big ducting for the exhaust, or for the air in. It's our fuel pump, exhaust, brackets and fittings, and a little oil filter. Muffler, I've been told these are shit, but we'll fit it. A hood for the air out. Fuel line. Actually seems decent. I've been told that some of the fuel line you can get with these can be a bit shit. That actually looks pretty good. Air filter for the air going in. This is the air intake into the engine. Mounting plate, and then a little muffler sound. Okay, update. I've got holes drilled into the wall to mount it, and I've also got the exhaust now going outside. That took some doing. I mean, you can see the amount of dust there, but we got there. And this is mounted, so this is the mounting plate that came with it. I just attached these brackets to it with just some standard bolts. These are the bolts that come to actually attach it. And then I did check, and it is, this one is the air intake for the engine. That's the exhaust, which is somewhat annoying because the way I orientated this, I was expecting the exhaust port to be on that side, but it's on that side, which is why there's a couple of extra holes, because I had to shift it all a little bit to the right. And then this is the wall that I'm going to cut the hole through for the air outtakes. This is where the hot air is going to come out, just ducting through to there. I hope the ducting is long enough. It's quite short. I measured it out whenever it was there, but then the exhaust went in, and it became a whole thing. Measure twice, do it twice anyway. Okay, we're another step further. We've got this mounted on here, and we've got the exhaust going out, and the fuel line coming up here to the pump. The next thing I did was the fuel tank, because the fuel tank doesn't come with an outlet, so you need to fit it. Sorry, it comes with the outlet, it doesn't come with the outlet fitted, so you have to drill a hole through either here or that side there, depending on what way you're wanting to mount it. The awkward thing is after you've drilled it, you have to then pull this thing through somehow. On their online videos, they make it really easy that you just drop it in the top and then it comes out the bottom, and that's not the case. So what I did was I ended up using some magnet wire, basically wrapping it around this, feeding the magnet wire through, because the wire was easier to feed through and get out this hole than it was to try and find this. Once I had it fed through, tied it around that, and then pulled it through, and that worked reasonably well. So next thing I'm going to do is the fuel tank is going to go up here, get that mounted, and then it's just another fuel filter to go in between it and the pump. After that's done, I then need to put in the air intake. That's for the engine, and then just the air out through here, so I need to cut a hole into this. But it's come together pretty well. I've been at this a couple of hours now, and the longest time was just trying to get the hole through the wall, so fairly straightforward so far. Okay, so we are basically done. We just need to do the electrics. I've now got the outtake coming out here, and if we go around here, see it's coming out there. I could cut that down, but I kind of like that I can maneuver it and point it in different ways if I want to, but I may change that. The air intake for the actual engine is, I've just zip tied it up a bit. I didn't want it sitting just on the floor. It does have a filter on there, but just I think that's unnecessarily dusty. So having a little bit will hopefully help that a little bit. We've got our fuel pump, fuel filter, and then oil tank, or fuel tank. I'm going to run this on kerosene, so oil up there. Something I have been considering out here isn't insulated. Not that well, as I said, it's cold. So I think an improvement I could make to this, this is the air intake that's actually getting heated. I'm going to run some ducting off that and have it coming into the room, so that it's, you know, taking cold air from the room, heating it up, spitting it back out, and doing it rather than taking the cold air out here that's never going to warm up, warming that up and then spitting it out into the other room. I've seen people use these where these have been mounted outside and they do work fine, so I'm not worried about it that way, but I think just as a little future improvement. And what I was thinking was I would then run some ducting up over the door, round, and actually thinking about it, if I was doing that, I would probably just swap this round so that this is the air intake, and then have the air out, the hot air out, coming out. So my desk is out there, so I would probably have the air in coming in that way, so that it's closer to where I'm actually sitting. Because that's where I am most of the time. If I'm working on something, I'll be at the workbench. That door doesn't open. Oh, the workbench there. So I mean, I could maybe bring it out somewhere in the middle so that it's heating up the room. I'm not sure. But yeah, I would probably do that, I think. So next thing I need to do is the electronics. The electrics are super simple. You can't plug them in wrong. So I'm going to get them plugged in. I'm going to do a test drive of it just plugged in as is. I do want the control panel to be through one of these walls, but I want to do a test with just everything set up the way they want it to be before, because I need to extend the cables and stuff to actually get the control panel where I want it to be. I need to cut the wires and make them longer. So before I do that, I want to do a test, make sure everything works. So I'm going to go get some fuel, hook up the electronics, get a battery in here to run it, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so it is basically set up and is running. I don't know if you can hear it, but I've got a little bit of oil in there. It's going through. It was firing there, but I'm having issues with power. It requires about 10 amps to start up, and so I don't have any mains power supplies that I can use for that. So I'm having to run off batteries, and these batteries are not good. They've been sitting for a while. So the power in them is not fantastic. I don't know if I have anything else sitting about that I can use, so I may need to stop here. I'm not sure. It does actually sound like it's still burning, which is nice. Yeah, it's not like it. We can see here it's got an error code of 1, and that's basically power isn't good enough. But yeah, so far it seems to be running okay, so I just need to figure out the power situation, and I think it's sorted. Okay, and it is running. So I didn't have anything that could create the required amperage main wise, so I just charged up that battery and it's doing for now. This is really loud. I just turned it on full blast, which is why it's really loud, so I'm going to close this door. And you can see that's substantially quieter, and this is it now, and it is nice and toasty. I've got the control panel mounted up here, and whenever it's on low, it is silent. You can't hear it at all, which is great. I've just put it up full blast just to see how hot it can make it, how quickly it can warm it up. See, but yeah. So excuse the head towel. I got absolutely manking fitting this thing, got bogging and covered in oil and all sorts. So I had to jump in the shower afterwards. But yeah, I'm happy. It's working. There's definitely improvements I can make to it. Like I said about doing the air intake and things like that. As a safety point, I do have a carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide detector in here just in case. But I've checked; it is definitely venting to the outside. Okay, so hopefully that should be good. And yeah, I do want to have the air intake changed so that it's pulling air from this room, putting it through, warming it up, spitting it back out, so that we've got like a cycle going, rather than, you know, pulling cold air from in there in and heating that up. I think it'll make it a little bit more efficient, but I need more ducting. I need to swap things around to do that. It's a project for another day. At the minute, I'm happy with it, and it will hopefully keep in here nice and toasty. I think this is about it as a thing that could be run sort of to keep here at a steady temperature, rather than me just turning it off, letting it go cold. You can actually have it just ticking over nicely. I think. I don't know how efficient it is, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line on the oil tank, on the fuel tank. Whenever I start working in here, Friday I think is the next day I'm working from home. So the start of the day, I'm going to come in, mark it, turn it on, heat it up, get it to whatever temperature is reasonable, and let it sort of tick over and try and keep it at that temperature. And then at the end of the day, see how much it's dropped, if any, and hopefully that'll give a rough indication of, you know, how much fuel this is actually burning doing that. But all in all, I'm happy. I'll do another video, potentially if people are interested, on the control panel, because the one I've got is slightly different to the ones that you see online all the time. There's some that are I don't know, they've got different symbols just on the buttons, and the button presses that you need to do certain things is different. So case in point, to prime the pump. On most of them, it was like the settings key and something else. I don't know. Or no, it was the OK key and the down button. So it was the two bottom buttons. On this one, it's actually the settings key and the down button. You hold that in, and then it brings up and says how many seconds you want to prime the pump for. So that's just something that's a little bit different. So I'm going to have a play around with it. Once I know roughly where all the settings are and stuff, I'll do another video or maybe a couple of shorts just explaining where those bits are, just in case anyone else happens to have the same model. But yeah, it's cool. If you've had used one of these and have any advice for improvements or things that can make it run a bit better, I know you can run this off vegetable oil. I don't want to do that. It's a lot of faff. But if there are other fuels that you can use, let me know. Yeah, I'll see you later.